So getting back to my thought, yeah, um, it's not for the Libby character. She was lost in suburbia, which she didn't resent her relationship precisely or her kids, but I think she was more resentful of herself for kind of maybe losing that essence of who she was. So there's that. So um, I think she's having like a tough time grappling with that, and she shares her pitfalls and frustrations with Toby. And perhaps maybe again, there's a sentence where I think she mentioned something like the reason why people cheat isn't necessarily because of the person, the new person that they've met, but because it reminds them of who they used to be and what used to make them feel alive. And it's thrilling when it's somebody who doesn't know every nook and cranny that makes you tick and frustrates you. So we see that. And knowing that they share these personal woes with Seth, and the fact that Seth is still kind of like, yeah, but that's y'all. I think that happens to a lot of people, like, that's y'all, that wouldn't happen to me. And they've best counsel him, like, you may want to tread lightly if this is what you want to do. It's not going that great for us. Um, and even like the father role that Toby has taken on, and the relationship that he's building with his children currently, even though that they're kind of going through the pitfalls of a divorce and also missing mommy, that we don't know what exactly happened to her, but um, you can see them. At the beginning of the series, they're very kind of rough around the edges, and then they seem to soften and maybe best comprehending reluctantly. Okay, these are children, and of this generation, that everything is like, I need a phone, I need Instagram, whatever the case may be. But I think they start to slowly realize that their father genuinely cares for them and is looking out for their best interests. So they start to kind of soften. Also, when they realize that perhaps mommy isn't coming back. Now, it turns out that yes, mommy went through her own nervous breakdown, and this is why I say this series is totally different from everything that I've reviewed or I've talked about in terms of cautionary tales, because we see, along with Rachel's background and the trauma of what she went through during childbirth. Now let's examine what exactly happened to Rachel when she's off to a retreat. The episode is called Me Time, and then the guy that she mentions actually, I think in episode 3, as a free pass. Everybody has a free pass, and when you're married. Although people say it jokingly, I don't think necessarily they mean it, but if you had an opportunity to sleep with so and so, would you do it? And but it's supposed to be like a celebrity. It's not supposed to be somebody who's actually in your inner circle. And Rachel, cruelly mentions that she was kind of maybe even attracted to the husband of another friend of this grouping of well-to-do people, and really well-to-do people. We're talking about like multi-million, billion-dollar status, and he's the head of some pharmaceutical company or whatever, making bank off of like depression pills. And so, but she loves how, ambitious he is, and she's just as ambitious, and they have that in common. They're constantly hooking up, and perhaps they were hooking up during her marriage to Toby. And then finally, Toby kind of pieces it together in earlier episodes. But this episode is the focus on her. And though she looks like she's living the ideal life, again, like I said, everything has like its 180 flip. And what you think is like ideal and picturesque doesn't necessarily always mean that it will be that way. So while she was thinking like, finally, I feel exuberant, I feel accomplished, and now I'm with a man that's like manly man, he's making me feel like a woman. They go on this retreat to like hook up, and what she wasn't expecting is that it really was beneficial to her mental health. And she realizes that she was actually dragging years of things, that trauma and depression, that she really didn't want to deal with. She kind of like buried that whole work ethic, although great financially. She used it as a mechanism to not deal with her emotions, and that also was another reason why there were so many issues in the marriage. So in this retreat, she has a voice. She just self-discovers that voice and literally lets it out. There's a moment where she's screaming her head off and does that ugly cry, which I love. I've mentioned that before in other reviews. I think in the Elvis movie review, because it was Baz Luhrmann who did Romeo and Juliet, and she was relatively young in that film, but she's always dedicated herself to her characters, and so she's not afraid to do an ugly cry. And I appreciate you, girl. You and I are both there. I loved you since My So-Called Life. I am a fan. And so I love that she kind of gives herself to the character, and she lets out this hideous scream and nail curdling, really horrible scream of all the pent up frustration, depression she had been dealing with. But then once she lets that go, she can't stop, and so she starts crying and is really, really vulnerable, and then realizes that the guy that supposedly she's so ambitious to be with and sleep with isn't here for it. He don't care. Again, he has his own problems. I think he's very self-involved, and he just wanted a good time. He wanted a good time girl. And when the good time girl turned out to be human with actual human emotions, he didn't want to deal with it and bailed and literally left her ass at that spa. And she's trying to grapple with what's happening to her, but really can't get her footing on it. She just wants to be away from her phone and away from all obligations. Because a lot of, during her marriage, was a huge dedication to her clients. It was a small agency, but it was an agency that was like a powerhouse. It was a leading agency. She had like one of like the most well-to-do actors. She was representing one of their well-to-do actors. It kind of mimicked a little bit like Hamilton, but like a female version of Lin-Manuel Miranda, which I thought was kind of funny. But she dropped the ball with that particular actor and actually actress. And so when she finally kind of comes to, it's too late. She's moved on with another agent, and she starts realizing that she's been out of commission for 3 weeks. That's how the depression set in. And Libby is the one that comes across her in Central Park and realizes, oh, she's not well. And she tries to kind of like let Toby know, but Toby wasn't having it because he felt abandoned and was resentful, and that she had done so much to him prior that he just was emotionally also checked out, did not really care for it. And she herself is trying to grapple through her own relationship, her own possible demise of her own marriage. So I think she quickly realizes that she needs to work on that and not be so attached to her friends, who sometimes can, honestly, Toby has instances of being a major dick in this episode, for that particular episode, Me Time, and as we transition to the last episode of The Liver. But very interesting, and that's why I say that this stands out of its own, because everybody can either be the victim or can be the villain, but nobody here is free of all accountability, and it makes it for a more relatable human story, as opposed to something that's like, you're the devil and you're the reason why this and that and whatever. Everybody here has there's a reasoning behind everything, and so it encourages sympathy and empathy for nearly every character. That's why I love this series. And so the last episode is The Liver, which Toby has mentioned in other episodes as a doctor, how the liver is marvelous because somehow it can always find its way back to healing. And that's what we do with our characters here. I think Libby goes through a form of introspection in congratulating Seth in his soon nuptials, and kind of wishing him the best of luck because it hasn't fared very well. but I think something clicks for her where she realizes what she has and what she's about to lose, and so she really dedicates her time to her husband. And even Toby. Toby has a moment of self-reflection and is kind of able to let go of all that resentment. And we're kind of left in the last episode as Rachel perhaps has an epiphany, or maybe the possibility of a rekindling between Toby and Rachel. We don't know. We're just kind of left to our own devices to make our own ending, which I love. I love stories that also end that way. I really recommend it, y'all. It's on Hulu right now, streaming. I love the show. I really recommend the series. Is 8 parts, about an hour and change, but definitely worth the watch. Definitely worth the binge. And yes, I hope to be back to do another review. I have to get back to my White Lotus and a number of other new shows that are coming out on Netflix, so please stay tuned. If you like what you see, give us a like. Leave us a comment down below. If you'd like to follow me here on YouTube, hit the subscription button and the notification button so you can be alerted of my next haul, review, and DIY. So yes, y'all, let's play this out. If we're gonna do 90s, let's do 90s. I love this song when it came out. I still love it to this day. Am I doing my best Claire Days? I think so. I think so, yeah. I love this song. Woo! Sends me back. Oh my god, makes me want to reach for my CD Walkman. Anyway, y'all, let me know, have you watched Fleishman is in Trouble? And leave us a comment. Tell me, have you seen it? Have you seen my other reviews for these cautionary tales? Divorce. Anyway, stay tuned, y'all. Until next time, XOXO. Nerdy Girl. I just love this song so much. Y'all don't know. Dawson's Creek. Dawson's Creek. Y'all are my people. Alright. XOXO Nerdy Girl.